Oh, that's right. Oh, good. Let me hit this dog on Twitter.
Your Twitter ain't working?
Nah, man, I had turned my Twitter off for a second. I'm gonna put it back on.
But yeah, I put it on.
Yeah, I'm about to say I'm doing that now, switching it out. And we should be good to go now. Oh, it's just a. Oh no, it ain't got nothing. Man, ain't got nothing to do with that. Yeah, it's just saying Twitter acting stupid. I don't know what Twitter has
been doing that about 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't know what Twitter is doing. To be honest,
sometime it'll work, sometime it won't. I just still post it anyway.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Okay, well, hey, YouTube, it is. Just have to repost it. We'll just repost. All right, let's do it. I think we are in. Hey, I think we actually already on started. It just, the Twitter would just up. But either way it goes, what's up, y'all? Back at it again. Hey, nice seeing y'all again. It's been a minute since we been live on camera, cammed up, But at the end of the day, glad to be back. Tonight we have a special guest. We have our guy Clint Goss, man, and he is NFL Draft Dome on Twitter. You got to make sure you check him out. Excellent stuff. Highly recommended. But regardless, man, Clint, welcome to the platform. Welcome to the stage. We're going to talk some NFL draft. We're going to throw some questions at Clint, pick his brain a little bit about the Falcons, but also just overall in the draft, man, because there's a lot of good kids coming out, and I'm pretty sure like he's scouted a lot of guys. He's had some interviews. So we're going to pick his brain. But Clint, man, please let us know how you feeling today.
I'm feeling good. Thanks for having me. I haven't been on here with y'all since probably about this time last year. Did the first time. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter at that handle listed, and I'm new to the personal YouTube as well. You can find me there as well with that same handle, covering NFL draft for all 32 teams, but then a little central focus on our Falcons as well.
Yeah. But before we start, it's a button at the top right hand corner. You can click it and share your page if you would like.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they'll see it on your page as well while we go.
I was just telling Clint before we came on, I was like, man, these Falcons have been busy, have they not? I mean, yeah, I understand some value shopping. I understand. I know it's people out there like, man, we shopping on the clearance rack. Well, you got to do what you got to do, with the cap space that we had. What's going on, family? How you feeling?
Yeah, I got to think we're coming out with that Kirk Cousins contract, so you got to be frugal when it comes to things like that.
Hey, man, you ain't doing nothing but telling the truth. But what is going on with the chat, man? How everybody doing? Rod E, man, what's happening? Ray Kays, Dembo, King ATL supporter, salute. JT, what's going on? Floyd, Christian, God is good all the time. Greg, what's happening? Trill Man. Who else we got in here? What is Deco? DCO? Either way it go, what it do, family? Yeah, man, everybody, man, yeah, y'all come on in, man. We're going to get into some draft talk in a minute, man.
Yeah, man. So let's get it started, man. What's your first question, Chris?
Oh, well, first of all, I want to start back, from the beginning. At the Senior Bowl, Clint had quite a few different interviews with a few different guys. But I really want to know, like, what guy that you talked to, just period, not even for the Falcons, we can just say just period. What guy stood out to you as far as just interviewing?
That's a good question. You could go from a couple angles. If I had to pick one that was different than what I would have expected, I'd probably say Arizona State tackle Max Ihana-Chor. He's kind of in those rumblings of late one, early second round. I'll tell you, he got in a couple skirmishes during the week more than anybody, notably with Derek Moore out of Michigan. Throwing some hands in one-on-ones. And then for me to go interview him, he was about the gentlest guy I interviewed of all of them. Very soft-spoken to have been, 6'7", 330 pounds. I'm not a small guy myself, but I felt like a little kid shaking his hand just about. He was a really, really good dude. As far as physically, another one that stood out to me, Adam Randall, running back out of Clemson, former receiver, just switched to running back this year. I mean, for him to come into the combine at 6'2", 232, I'm telling you, he's so well built and solid. I can't even believe the guy's only 232 pounds. And I said that to him when we were talking, and he kind of laughed, and he was like, "Nah, I promise I'm not going any higher than that, man. I can't go any higher than that." Really, really well-built guy. And as far as somebody that I just had a good time kind of chopping it up with, I'd say Arkansas cornerback Julian Neal, real large corner, transferred from Fresno State over there this year. Real well-spoken guy. We were kind of yakking it up about, the potential of him in Atlanta and how he'd fit in there. And he was real complimentary. And lastly, if I had to pick the best snippet or best quote I had from anyone, I'd say Florida center Jake Slaughter. You could just tell the guy's really intelligent talking with him. But we were really getting into it as far as Bill Callahan. And man, he just lit up talking about all the studying he's had. His assistant offensive line coach at Florida had worked under Callahan previously. That was kind of his mentor. He was talking about the concept of got a clip for everything, got photos for everything, got a story for everything. It'd be such an honor to play in Atlanta, because we were talking about the center need at the time. That'd be 3 or 4 guys that would kind of apply to that question.
That's dope, man.
Yeah, and I think Jake Slaughter is a popular name in Atlanta right now amongst content creators and people doing their draft profile. So I wouldn't be surprised he ended up here.
Good name.
But with that second round pick at 48, what position are you banking on them to be looking at the most?
It's easy to say receiver. It is. To go a different angle, I'm really looking at that corner group. As far as the run, I anticipate starting around pick 20 up until the end of the first round, and then probably wrapping up right around our pick heading into 50. I think there's a real cluster of guys. Colton Hood out of Tennessee, Chris Johnson out of San Diego State. I had him recently mocked to us at 48 in an article I did. You could keep going. Avian Terrell, if he gets down in the lower half of the first. A couple more names along those lines. If you're to look up at 48 and somebody like a Chris Johnson, a Keith Abney out of Arizona State, some of those guys are there. I see enough drop off as far as what you would turn around and look at, say, in the third round versus the receiver group. I think you look up in the third, and obviously having Drake as the one, adding Zacchaeus as kind of a receiver 4 depth piece, familiar with the building, and then Dotson for the money they paid him. I think they're anticipating him likely being a receiver 2 there. I don't think they make that addition at that price point being held hostage to having to go receiver in the second. The value's better there in the third and beyond. Agreed. To get somebody in the, with what they need already there. And, I know obviously big men is a central focus and one that a lot of people are excited about, myself included. If you were to look up and say one of those nose tackles really tickled your fancy, Dominique Orange out of Iowa State, Darrell Jackson Jr. out of Florida State. Don't imagine he's there, but Cade McDonald out of Ohio State, less of a nose tackle, more of a 3-toe. Kristen Miller out of Georgia. So I'd really say defensive interior or corner, I think, are the spots there that they look up and there's a best player available for them. That'd be the move.
Yeah, I actually like Christian Miller if he is there at 48, because you talk about the guy that can eat up space with quick feet. He would be the prototypical nose tackle in our defense, because 6'4", 325, 330, you can't coach that. And knowing, him playing against top-notch talent in the SEC, I feel like, he just transitions well and come right in, and he could, battle somebody for that starting spot. Because we know in this defense, I think Doris will play more of an end because you losing JPP due to off the field problems. So you got to figure out how to counteract and add that back to the defense to get back to last year. So you got to move some things around, and I think Christian Miller could come in and he'll help Zach Harrison as well. So, I like Christian Miller.
I think Miller helped himself just in terms of the Falcons a lot. I mean, him coming into the combine at 321 pounds, that was more than I anticipated. I thought he was playing at Georgia closer to 310 or so. Can say with my familiarity with him that he's funny as hell, really well-spoken guy, as well as being a leader. I think it'd be a slam dunk at 48, particularly in this 3-4, like you said. But that 321, when I saw that, I got even more excited, kind of like, wow, he really could hold up in that middle spot. I mean, hell, he's as strong as a bull, but Rook's not a pound over 300 pounds, and he's been playing there.
I think he's playing out of position, though. Just a little bit. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Because it reminds me of Grady Jarrett in a way, playing out of position, but you just got the guy that's handling the position. A guy that we haven't mentioned, but I think could be interesting, not necessarily in the third, but if they decide to go in a different direction. Do you think that DeMonte Capehart maybe from Clemson may be available somewhere around in the 4th round or anything? Because he did have show some flashes at the Senior Bowl.
Repeat that question again. Yeah, sorry, guys.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
You asked about Capehart.
Yeah, DeMonte Capehart.
You asked about Capehart. The only thing I would wonder there is if it's that much of a different archetype from what you're doing with Rook. Real big time run defender, got a ton of size, closer to that 315. Going to be an upper echelon athlete as far as athletic testing. I do think, though, I mean, he'd be a demon mode in this defense. He's somebody I think the league will be higher on than what media has been thus far. His range will be interesting. If I had to guess right now, he's probably around that 4th round guy. Particularly, we talked about that 2nd rounder and the 3rd rounder. If you wanted to go, say, corner and receiver, and you had to turn around and look to go big guy on the defensive line in the 4th. But I like Capehart a lot. I just wonder if he brings something different for you, with your main intention being you want to get a traditional nose tackle.
Definitely understand. Yeah, but I like Capehart. I feel like 4th round, if in the 4th round, if Capehart is there, I feel like that wouldn't be a bad pick regardless. And you kind of have a good problem to figure out, I think. Smitty, what you got?
Quarterback position. We talked about that. We've been talking about that for 2 months straight. The blind side. Caleb McGarry is probably coming back. Jake Matthews getting long in the tooth. What round do you think they address that, or do you think they wait until see what happens? More casualty cuts and post June 1st, or do they address that in the draft on the right tackle?
I thought a really interesting nugget was the fact the first confirmed 30 visit was Travis Burke, tackle out of Memphis, from Hollywood, Florida, originally 6'9", large guy. I mean, really mean the run game. So as far as his play style, pretty similar to McGarry as far as just being that run mauler with such big size. I'm really high on Burke as far as somebody they would, if they were to take him this year, he'd be developmental for the year and kind of a swing style, but got tons of experience. I mean, 40-plus starts collegiately. He's played both sides of the tackle spots. I got really excited to see that 30 visit. As far as where they would invest in this draft, I think for it to be as high as 2nd, it would have to be a drastic chunk of their board versus 48. I said Max Ihinator earlier in the episode. If he was 25 on their board and they looked up at 48 and he was staring them in the face, they'd pull the trigger. Because, you got to take Cunningham at his word. He has shown us. He talks so much about, I want more picks. That's currency. Right. He's gone and got 3 comp picks for 2027. With the Caden Ellis involvement there. He's talked about wanting to get younger. Didn't go give a 60% raise to Caden Ellis at 31 years old, heading into his 34 year at the end of that contract. So he's shown he's sticking to his word thus far. So I haven't said that. I could see it, but I think with the corner need, defensive interior, and receiver, I don't know that they don't look for a developmental along the lines, if I mentioned Burke, and see what they have there going into next year. And if they look up and McGary's done, or Matthews has decided he's had enough of it, you go into a draft with currently 9 picks in a very strong projected draft in 2027. And then right now you got the 7th most cap space in the league for 2027 as well. I don't imagine them investing early here unless, you look at some of these moves, not to say they're looking ahead to 2027, but they're definitely not one of these like back against the wall. We've got to go all in. We got to do something this year. They're thinking long term. So I tie back to my mention of if somebody's staring them in the face, but I think if all goes according to their projected plan, probably more the developmental route along somebody such as Burke. I think he's a perfect example.
Now I will say this. I'm looking at the contract situation, and I know something can happen at any time. But if I'm not mistaken, next season around this time, Jesse Bates will be a free agent. And I'm thinking the Falcons may possibly draft a safety. I know it's a long shot, but I still feel like it could be somewhere in the works. And if so, I want to know what your thoughts are on Kamari Ramsey out of USC, as far as like the fit with the Falcons.
Yeah, Ramsey can play safety. I think he's more destined to be a nickel in the league. I think you saw as this past year at Southern Cal progressed, it was more in that nickel spot for them. I think when you look at his body makeup, really looks a little closer to that nickel spot. But I mean, he's going to be somebody, I think he's going to go 3rd round. I don't know that they invest that high in somebody they project to start in 2027 with the need. I think they wait and go into next year. Like I said, safety's a spot, particularly considering, not to split it up between free safety and strong safety. But if you just looked at your 2 high and looked at it as like a safety 1 and a safety 2, assume Bates walks out, at the end of this deal going into next season. Watts has already shown you enough that he can be the one going forward for years to come. I think as far as a safety 2, that'd probably be one of we actually have a big checkbook now in free agency or a ton of draft picks to go get someone like they did, took Watts in the late 3rd, brought him in with a strong 1 who brought him along. That is a great example. You talk about some of the better teams that get the next guy in the building before the guy is gone. You talk about that Eagles offensive line. They do that over and over and over and over. We kind of saw that with Watts here as in we're not sitting here thinking like, oh man, when Jesse leaves, who's going to be the leader in the back end? It's like, I think we're feeling good there. So I wouldn't bet on that necessarily for this class, even though it is a very, very strong safety group.
It is, man. It's so strong, and that's why I bring it up, because of the strength of the safety group, and also the point of possibly getting a guy or another guy that can possibly be in before the number 1 possibly leaves. And I'm not taking any slight, because I still know that we do have Billy Bowman coming off the Achilles, and I know that he's going to be a focal point in the defense. But I'm just thinking as far as you can't have enough of good guys with talent on your back end. especially with everything's going on. We're still trying to find a cornerback number 2 and everything. But I do feel what you're saying, though, because the value, as far as like him being a 3rd round, possibly.
But your mention of a Ramsey, for example, and tying that into Bowman, it's like, okay, you do take Ramsey, say in the 3rd, and you come in, and Bowman either 1 needs more time, or 2, he's lost a step, or 3, you can't keep him on the field. Oh, yeah, he can go start at nickel for you this year and be ready to go with all of his experience and his ability. So I could see from that angle of they're going, we're going to play this guy at nickel some this year. We're going to play him some at safety. He's going to kind of be almost our swing DB there on the interior of it versus boundary corner. No, there's a lot of logic there.
Yeah.
Now, there's one guy I was high on last year. But he decided to go back to school. And knowing that we just lost Caden Ellis, Devon Diablo is still here, Josh Woods, and those guys. Linebacker is what I'm looking at in the 3rd and 4th round. Harold Perkins from LSU. He reminds me a lot of Deion Jones. Same size, same build, same sideline to sideline guy. Great pursuit. Do you think he can be an option on day 3?
It's a great question. I think that Perkins' best bet for success in the NFL is something along that star position, playing some hybrid defensive back, hybrid linebacker, kind of that smaller that you can see, for example, the success that the Bucs are having with Tyke Smith there, having come out of Georgia, where really that star position got coined in a lot of ways by Kirby Smart. I could see that for Perkins. Kyle Lewis from Pitt is another linebacker in this class that kind of falls along those lines.
I like him.
Yeah, I think Lewis goes before Perkins, but just to say that archetype of player, if you're sitting there in the 4th and he's there and you want to bet on the upside, I see it. I don't know that they don't, as far as this linebacker room, and we've got Diablo. You just added Channing Tindall today to that speed component. The argument of, they're going with sub 4.5 guys at the position, totally get it as far as Perkins. I just would wonder if they would want to look more traditional set linebacker on the inside between the tackles. So honestly, I kind of gave you both sides of the fence to that one. So it's a little bit of a stumper, but I mean, that's a great question. In the 4th round, I mean, hell yeah, the amount of athleticism Perkins has, the versatility, like I said, as far as I think he can be a hybrid. I mean, you talk about if anybody can take a speed backer at sub 235 pounds and do something with it, it's Brick.
Right. And I think they perfect for that, because as I looked at how they were blitzing last year with Caden Ellis and Diablo and even the nickelbacks, I just think he would be a perfect fit as far as 3rd down blitzes or those packages. So if they can get him in the 4th round, I think it's a plus.
I like it. Okay, since we're on linebackers, what do you think about Caleb Illums-Orr? Because for me personally, I think that he is a linebacker. Yeah, man. And think about it, like he played against guys who are in the league right now: Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, and like ultimately the 2025 season, what he had like 130 tackles, 11 tackles for loss. I think honestly, this guy, he moves from sideline to sideline. And when I watched some of his film, I was calling him bad intentions, because the way that he comes down and tries to hit and tries to attack into the run game, I like it, man. So, like, give me your thoughts about him, Mr. Orr.
You asked me who were some guys before we came on that just like kind of grabbed my attention or blew me away at the Senior Bowl. Illums-Orr was one where we were all looking around. Like, for example, I mean, he hit 20 plus miles an hour in terms of his field speed at 6'2", 234. Yes. And I think one of the best 2 or 3 clips that I got recording out there, they line him up in the one-on-ones with the running backs. They're doing the running backs in pass pro. and bless his heart, I can't remember if it was Seth McGowan or Jaden Knott at running back. They blow the whistle. And when I say Elam's Orr runs him over like a baby deer in an F-150, I mean, pads popping. You can hear everyone in the background of my clip, everyone, including myself, being like the classic, like, oh, like everyone just like, damn, like, I mean, it was a lot of violence. He was the fastest linebacker in that group. And, 6'2", 234 is very proportionally built. And his athletic testing was freaky. I mean, he was 99th percentile at that size, running a 4.47. Fits to what we just said about 40-inch vert, 10.4 broad. I mean, those are stupid numbers. He is undoubtedly one of the 2 or 3 day 3 linebackers. I imagine him along the lines more like a 4th that I have circled, that I'm like, we talk so much about they want to get younger. You saw that as far as linebacker. They let Ellis walk at 31 years old. They go get Tyndall, who's 24, 25. They go get Christian Harris, who's 24, 25. Both are sub 4.5 guys. No, Elam's Orr is definitely got his name circled in Sharpie at Flowery Branch. That's a great mention. I'm really high on him.
Yes, sir. And he'll be 23 by the start of the season. So he fits the mold of our youth movement, just like you was indicating, just with the Zach Harrisons, the Dorleses, everybody like that, man. So I would love to add him to the linebacker room too. I mean, because I feel Kyle Lewis, a guy who is I would say like what you would say like Swiss Army knife, but just because of his experience of being able to famously play some safety too. So it's like, I would really like Kyle Lewis, but like you said, like Elam's Orr, I like Elam's Orr a lot, man. I do. Really like the D picked up today.
Thank you, man, for the super chat. Appreciate it. Go ahead, Chris.
Nah, I was just like, Falcons just been moving, man. Like, I know we haven't really talked about like the Falcons move at all, but if we can give you the GM hat, Mr. Clint, I know that's a powerful hat to have right now, but with the moves that we have made, what really makes sense for the Falcons? Mostly, I know we can go any range, but if it's you and you want to make a statement in your first draft, Mr. Ian Cunningham, like, who do you just go ahead and take? Because we're used to the best player available type thing, even though sometimes it wasn't always the best player available. But I just want to know your thoughts, man. Like, we could just, you're Mr. Ian Cunningham, make a statement.
Yeah, the comment is alluding to Azeez Ojulari, that free agency signing today. Played at Marietta High School, played for Georgia. If we go back to 2024, we were all on here talking about how bad we wanted him at the time for it not to have lined up. So like that one, as far as your question, I would probably go back to that defensive interior, because I think that front seven in a lot of ways became your juice, your identity as far as the team, beyond individual stars as a unit last year. I think to do that and say we're going to be a complete defensive line, a.k.a. we're not sitting here saying Rook's playing out of position at nose tackle. We're not saying that we got to try and get more out of Dorless somewhere else. I think if you were to say at 48, you got one of those defensive interiors along the lines of a Kristen Miller, along the lines of, if you had a faller between the Cade McDonalds, the Lee Hunters out of Texas Tech, if you looked up and you were that high on a Dominique Orange out of Iowa State, those being a couple names, I think that would also further instill Cunningham sticking to the philosophy he preached in his opening presser of, we want to get younger, we want more draft picks. My main focus is always going to be big boys. I think that would be a real hard sell in a good way, and a positive hard sell of saying, man of my word, I want a big man. Well, this is a big man right here. So I'd probably go with that.
Okay, I like it. So pretty much what it's saying is the statement is going to be the trenches And I'm glad that, you went that way, because just even alluding to it, man, hey, I believe Ian Cunningham does want to start in the trenches. Now, of course, we can definitely go a different way, because again, most of the fan base want a wide receiver. Like, go ahead and just get a wide receiver at 48. That's where it's going on. But Ian Cunningham, I do believe he's going to hit the trenches. Smitty, what you got?
Yeah, and as y'all know, Lee Hunter is my guy. He did an interview with him. He talked about it a little bit. But again, you talked about, adding to the position with a sturdy veteran. We got to replace Tyler Algier. What running back are you looking at that can come in and give you that kind of production year one?
Particularly to have Bijan as the, jump cut, scat back, phone booth running back. Adding somebody that's got that thump there at the goal line, but also does have some receiving ability out of the backfield. I really like Clemson running back Adam Randall. 3-year receiver at Clemson. They converted him to running back this year. Had 1,000+ rushing yards. His 3 years as a receiver, he had around 500, 600 receiving yards. A guy that gets 10+ yards per catch, even carried that into his receptions as a running back this year. Interviewed him in Mobile too. He is solid as a rock, man. I mean, 6'2", 232. The receiving ability, good in pass pro. New to the position in the fact that his best football is ahead of him there. Tested well, really athletically. He's a name I'd throw out there. If I had to throw a little, excuse me, another one, I like Roman Hemby out of Indiana. They had that two-headed.
I like that.
And you could mention both of those Indiana running backs, because I think
I was just about to ask you about Mr. Black.
Kalen Black, man, he's strong. I mean, that's like the kind of two-headed monster of like, well, who's the one? Because they're both so great. This is like some Devonta and Tevin Coleman kind of speak for perspective. I mean, Black in every way could have been the one there in terms of the volume. But Roman Hemby, incredibly productive. I mean, he's coming up on 40, 50 starts collegiately between Maryland and then transferring to Indiana. I like both of those guys. And Black is somebody in particular, like I think he's there for that 6th, 7th round pick. If you were really wanting to wait and get other needs, those guys would be value picks at the position. To put him there with running back 2 expectations, with somebody taking as much of the load as Bijan, I've got those Indiana running backs circled, and then Randall, who I mentioned from Clemson.
Nice. My boy Ryan from the Birdcage LLC wants to know, have you given any insight to Curtis Allen from Virginia Union?
Yeah, that's a name I've seen come up recently. Brian Galvin on Twitter is real big, FCS D2, D3 guy. That's really who he goes into. He's real high on Allen. As far as the tape, he's still on my watch list to dive into deeper. But that goes back again kind of to what I said. When you look at his projected draft stock, that's more of the value play later. And that's part of what made Algier so great for us. You got him at a 5th round price tag. I think with limited picks this year, you didn't go see him at a running back in free agency yet. Having had Algier walk out the door, I think intentions are to take a swing on one of these guys with either that 6th or that 7th later on. So that's really the cluster of guys that we need to be looking at.
Cool.
That's a good one. I was just actually going to ask you about this gentleman right here.
Brennan Thompson. Yeah. I'll tell you too, one thing people need to realize when they look at his build, 5'9", 170, he's not some rail thin dude, and he's tough as hell over the middle of the field.
Yeah.
He's tough. Like, he's not just one trick pony, run in a straight line and catch it and hope you don't get your block knocked off. I mean, really impressive as a route runner from a receiving standpoint. And then, the fact he goes and runs a 4.26 and not convinced he couldn't have done a tick better than that even. I like him a lot, man. as far as what we need and where I think he'll be, he's probably looking at that 4th round guy. But I mean, too, going back to what I said about he's not just this one trick pony, but at the same time, led FBS and 50+ yard catches this year with 5. His change of direction, his ability to throttle down as far as the speed. He's not just one speed, 0 to 60. He can fluctuate it. To have him, were he to come into this room and what you just added in Dotson and what you added with Zacchaeus as a depth receiver there, I really like him. Like I said, he's there at that 4th round spot and you haven't gone receiver yet. That would most likely be who I would be pounding the table for.
That's a good one. Now, my boy Tay wants to know right quick. Bryce Lance. Do you look at him in the late rounds at 6'3" with 4.34 speed?
Lance is an interesting one in the fact that he is an older prospect. He'll be closer to that 24, 25, I believe. So would imagine him leaning a little bit more toward, and this isn't even me commenting on the Falcons necessarily, but leaning more toward contenders. He's not a guy that's going to go to the Raiders that are like, yeah, this is probably going to take us 2-3 years and wait into the end of a rookie deal. Test very, very similarly to Christian Watson, another North Dakota State guy, been with the Packers, just tall, vertical speed. People got to look beyond the fact he's Trey Lance's kid brother and what you got out of that experiment.
Right.
But no, I mean, he's really productive. To have him on the field at the same time as Drake really would be looking like you were playing some rec basketball. I mean, these guys look like small forwards out there. As far as where you project him round wise, he's going to get into day 3 for some of the reasons I just said. But I mean, look, you look up round 4, round 5. Well, we don't have a round 5 as of this point. But you look up at round 4 and he's there, and that's what they're looking for, particularly to have that speed vertical aspect, but they want to stay with the size of Pitts and London. Would not hear me complaining. And if it were to happen and he's sitting there in the 6th, oh yeah, you run the card in like your hair's on fire.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, now this guy right here that I'm going to ask you about, he's a wide receiver. I know that he tested well, but regardless of your test, your job is to catch the football, and your job is also to help blocking as well. This guy from Cincinnati, Mr. Jeff Caldwell, I've been on the fence about him because he has all the measurements. He has all the intangibles, the 78-inch wingspan, etc., all that good stuff. But the bad rep on him is his route running. And, of course, since sometimes his hands can get a little bricky. So I'm like, I'm just being honest. That's what they're saying. So it's like, my thing is, if the Falcons want to keep that big body receiver, that big body kind of like tandem going regardless, because at one point in time, we had four guys that was at least over 6'3", over 6'2", 6'3",
Right.
So anyway. So if they wanted to go back to that and maybe want to go into maybe a 4th, 5th round, 4th or 6th round to probably try to get a receiver. And if a Jeff Caldwell is there, would he be an interesting prospect at that, running that 4.3 speed?
I mean, look, anybody that is going to test 100th percentile at their position has to be interesting, even if it's the punter out there that's got, some traits to him or something, all joking aside. Caldwell, you look at that talent that's coming out of Cincinnati, they've really got some dudes. I mean, Cyrus Allen's another receiver for them that was the best route runner at Mobile. I can tell you, having had Brennan Sorsby, who's now transferred over to Texas Tech for next year. But as far as Caldwell, I mean, if the Falcons are wanting to go with that archetype of receiver, I don't know that they want to be developmental in it as much because he's somebody that's going to take a little time. I would think that they would lean more along the lines of who we just discussed in Bryce Lance. Or if they were to go earlier in the draft, say that second, third round, for example, like a Chris Brazel out of Tennessee, 6'5", 200 is fine of a whip route in the red zone. Stop, start, cutting to the sideline. You're going to find. So I would not assume Caldwell there. I wouldn't be upset about taking someone with that many traits, though. I think particularly with what you're trying to get out of quarterback with figuring out Penix, you just brought on Tua. I don't know that they go for the blacksmith hands on somebody to try and develop versus somebody that's a little more fine-tuning technical things.
Yeah.
No, I can definitely understand that and see that. He mentioned Brazel, man. We've been high on Brazel as well, and he had a bad rep too. They act like he was going to run slow when he came out, and then he burst on the scene and tested well. Yeah, he burst on the scene and tested
we
well.
saw the speed against Georgia though, so I don't know where they got that from. I don't know.
I don't know, but
since we having all the fun with
it's helmet scouting.
Yeah, helmet scouting.
It's helmet scouting. It's people that see he's a Tennessee receiver and they get Jalen Hyatt anxiety, and you just can't do that. The example you always fall back on is it's like, yeah, how'd that helmet scouting go for you when you took Drake May after worrying about Mitchell Trubisky out of North Carolina quarterbacks? It's like you just can't do that. I get that vertical, empty receiver looks that they have at Tennessee is not as easily translatable, but you can't discount all of it. No, I mean, Brazel's got insane tools to work with, got a dad that made it to the league, had an uncle that played in the league, first team all SEC, and versus what you asked, and we were talking about with Caldwell, I mean, a sub 6% drop rate. He is roughly 50% on contested catches. Yep. That's not the stuff to work with. The stuff to work with is maybe, letting him continue to fill out just a hair, maybe kind of like you talk about a pitcher, like, oh yeah, he's got a couple of good pitches. We might need to get him working on a slider or something, maybe something a little different there. But I mean, the guy runs 4.37 at 6'5". I say this as somebody, I am by no means an NFL athlete. I'm acknowledging that, but I'm 6'5", and for me to get this much moving that fast out the gate is hard to fathom, and because it is hard to fathom. So no, I mean, Brazel's somebody that needs to be getting some more love and less helmet scouting.
Now is another USC guy that I'm looking at. And I ruffled a lot of feathers when I said this. Drake London getting paid $30-35 million a year or so, could be sooner. And if they didn't want to pay him that money, there's another USC Trojan named Jacoby Lane that same type bill, same type skill set. How do you view him as an Atlanta Falcon if they were to look that route?
I think it's worth mentioning on Lane, and some of this is more eyeball testing. Haven't seen him field level at the Senior Bowl. He's thinner than like a Drake. Like if you were to tell me
200, yeah,
and looks about 180, 185 up close. He's thin. He's not going to be a contested catch monster. Great feet, great route runner. Going to run as fine a gauntlet as anybody in Indianapolis. I think you also got to look at the fact Drake's an 8th overall pick. Lane needs to be closer to 3rd, 4th round guy.
Right.
I like him fine. I don't think that's the direction they go. I think if they go for some of that foot speed, it won't be with more of the tall, lean, versus you're going more of a tall, lean guy. I think they go with somebody with the long vertical speed who's a little more contested catch. But Lane's a good mention, but I would just throw out there, they can tell me he weighed in at 195, 200 Indianapolis, and that was after a good breakfast before a bathroom break with a towel around his waist.
Lord have mercy, man. Okay.
Man.
We're gonna stay on receivers because honestly, I mean, we may end up having to take one. I mean, it still is that option out there, and it's so many good guys coming out. But okay, now this can be a Falcon question but at the same time, I just want to know your thoughts between these two prospects that do really two totally different things. but really can be a quarterback's best friend. And I'm talking about in this hand, I got Omar Cooper Jr. I got in this hand, Jeremy Bernard. Which one you like?
I think for starters, I think Cooper Jr. is gone before he could get into our conversation. I think his chat starts coming up in the 20s. Like, I think he ends up going night one. 6 foot 199. He's the best yards after catch receiver in this class. I mean, he's got a stupid number like 15 yards per catch. Really looks like a running back running with the ball out there. Great feet, man. I mean, like that clip we all talk about, the game-winning touchdown against Penn State in the back of the end zone. Great along the sideline. He's somebody like, man, he'd be killer with the Rams. He would have been a killer option if the Raiders hadn't just lost that second first-round pick. You look at some of these other teams that could need receiver later on. He makes it to the Patriots that need a bigger body, who's physical. You look at the Browns with that second first-round pick. There's just enough teams in that mid to late one that need one along his archetype of player that if you were to say there's 5, 4 of them might say no. Somebody's going to put a ring on it, in my opinion. And then throwing it over to Bernard. Bernard has probably, in terms of me commenting on the 48th pick, pre-draft, he's probably been my most popular take as far as the Falcons. 6'1", 204. He's one of those guys. It's like, even if you were to say you don't think he necessarily has any component that's elite, he doesn't have a single hole. It's kind of like he's like a worst case scenario. You said he's a 7 or 8 out of 10 in every single spot across the board. There's nothing much to teach there. This is a pull him off the lot day one. He's ready to go as a receiver 2. Between he and Dotson holding down the receiver 2, receiver 3 spot, that'd be money. I mean, comes out of that Washington program where he was getting legitimate playing time with, Penix, obviously the familiarity there. Penix was his quarterback there. You're talking Roma Dunze, Jalen McMillan with the Bucks, Jalen Polk, who was a second rounder who hasn't really hit with the Patriots, but nonetheless was a top 60 pick, et cetera, et cetera. He's somebody who's just been good across his entire college career. I think his build, what he offers, short, intermediate, not necessarily a long burner in terms of the speed. For receiver 2, receiver 3 expectations in the mid-second, that's money all day, man. Like he's on my little short list. If they are to do that, that's who I'm pulling for.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What?
No,
on the screen right now. Zachariah Branch. What does he land on your list? To keep it simple.
Branch is one that we in media can say he's going to go here, he's going to go here, he's going to go here, he's going to go here. It could go all over the place, man. You could tell me that Branch ends up going round 2, I'd believe you. You could tell me that he goes in the first 5 picks of the 4th round, I'd believe you, because he really is that much of a projection, but also that much of elite traits at special spots. 5'9", 177. But you hear that size, dude cranked out 20 bench reps at the combine. Pound for pound, he's strong as shit. I mean, and you look at his genetics. I mean, it doesn't get mentioned enough. His uncle's Cliff Branch, dude.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
His uncle's in the Hall of Fame and played for the Raiders for about a decade at receiver. He was a cat. It's like you go as far back, Branch. I mean, 5-star recruit coming out of, I believe it was Vegas. Signs with Southern Cal.
Brother.
He is as strong of a punt returner as there is in this class. He is like an alley cat in terms of his elusiveness, his stop start, losing a phone booth, a lot of shake, a lot of wiggle. That goes to the elite traits, can't teach kind of stuff. He goes and runs, I believe it was 4.36. Dude, I'm telling you, go watch that clip after this. He had a stumble step in that 4.36.
He did.
Within the first 10 yards, he had one little gimpy step, and he cleared that. Yep. He could have gone lower. And I'm speaking from the Georgia Bulldog perspective. I mean, dude, he was the offense this year. Leading receiver at 81 receptions, Second place as far as receptions, about to hit you with a number here, 27. 81 to 27. Yeah, 81 to 27. You know, a lot of people are going to point to the fact that 50% of his catches came within 1 to 2 yards of the line of scrimmage. I mean, he in a lot of ways, he was a screen merchant for us. But my argument with that to people when they say it, and I said this the other day to someone in the context of the Raiders, I said, okay, and you don't think that wouldn't be a security blanket and a man's best friend for a young quarterback? Just saying within 1 to 2 yards of the line of scrimmage, this dude's right here, turn, rip it, and let him do the rest, man. I mean, because he's got that kind of shape. He is strong pound for pound to elude the initial tackler. You see that in his punt return game. You know, that's the name of the game. Make the first man miss. Dude, Falcons take him at second, third round. He's going to be a security blanket for Penix or even Tua. You know, hell, we talk about Tua with some of his injuries. Yeah, someone's raining down your head in the A gap. Here's your hot route. Turn to your left and just throw it to Branch, you know, every single time, you know. For that reason, I think that's my rebuttal to anyone that says that. You know, his route tree will be developing, and it can. It's kind of what I said earlier about, this guy's got a great four-seamer, got a great changeup. We just need to get that curveball tuned up, man. You know, and he can do it. He can do it. He'd be a great fit. He's so excited. You can hear me talking about him until I'm excited about him. Branch falls in that cluster.
He's definitely an exciting player, man. Honestly, I feel like if Branch went in the first round, I wouldn't be surprised. Like back in the first, I wouldn't be surprised about that either. Like he's just so talented. You can do so much with him. But I know it's a name that I've seen come through here about 4 times now, so we're going to make sure we get it up here. And it is Georgia State wide receiver who did have a breakout year for them, very productive, Mr. Ted Hurst.
For starters, I'll tell you this much. That was and I'm not even just talking about for me, everyone. That was the toughest interview to get in Mobile was Ted Hurst. You couldn't get your freaking hands on the guy. Everyone was trying to interview him. Lengthy interviews. My interview with Hurst, all joking aside, is walking up the concourse at the end of practice. Like he was about to be so far in the locker room, they were going to be handing him a Gatorade and a snack. And he was wrapping up talking to me, mostly because I went up to him and was like, hey, man, I'm reporting out of Atlanta covering the Falcons. And when I kind of said that, you could tell he was kind of like, all right, hometown dude. All right, I'm going to talk before I walk off. But, I mean, I can tell you, he's every bit that 6'3", 205, 207. For somebody to, we all talk about the fact he's out of Georgia State. Hell, he transferred there from Valdosta State.
He did.
He's a twofer in terms of that. You look at the last 3 years, 17 yards per catch, 16 yards per catch, 15 yards per catch. That's the name of his game. If I had to look at one specific testing in Mobile where I'm like, that guy, 1, answered questions, and 2, made himself some cash, for him to go hang a 4.42 with some people questioning that, for him to be the kind of George Pickens build, contested catch artist, high pointer, it's like, yes, that is all valid. But that cat can go hang a 4.42 in a straight line, man. And lastly, I'd say the best matchup, just even battling it out, built a little rivalry at the Senior Bowl, was Hurst against Arkansas cornerback Julian Neal. That kid's 6'2", 208, just physical. There were plays where there was one in particular, Hurst came down with the football, and it was like some Houdini thing where it took him handing the ball back to the ref for all of us to be like, wait a minute, he caught that? Because they were just that glued to each other in the contested catch. Oh, yeah, he built so much stock there. I loved when we were talking. The best part of that interview, I asked him about Del McGee as his head coach, former Georgia running back coach, former coach at Carver, Columbus. Del is around a long time. And hearing him talk about it, what was it he said to me? He was like, yeah, coach doesn't talk a lot, but when coach talks, we all listen big time, man. He just
If you had to give him a comp, who would you compare him to?
Probably along the lines of that Pickens mention. He's probably not as freaky of an athlete as Pickens, not of the same kind of mindset a little bit. Pickens is one of the best blockers you'll see because he's just so violent. But I think in terms of their body type, the contested catch, the high point, can really go up and get it. That's a good mention. You could even water it a little bit and just put a light at the end of that. But I think that paints a good picture as far as your question for people, and name everyone will recognize.
What about Nico Collins?
I just think Nico Collins versus them. Nico probably has a little more sand in the genes. Hurst and Pickens are more of those 205, 207, 208 kind of guys. I think Nico's closer to about 220. But you got the idea. I mean, yeah.
Clint, you funny, man. That man said he got a little bit more sand in the jeans.
One last question that I have. Is there anybody in free agency that you still see out there that can come in and help the Falcons as a depth piece or as I would say, a key rotational piece?
It's a great question. The easy kind of cop out, I'd probably say if they decided to go at that running back 2 spot, if they just looked at the draft board and said, we've got enough needs with these limited picks that we want to take a swing elsewhere. Because at this point, and typically in free agency, like, you're not going to go hit on an offensive tackle. You're going to go spend big time money to go get somebody. As far as you've already done the receiver thing with the 2 you've signed. You've already done the linebacker thing with the 2 you signed. They're not going to go stroke the kind of check, nor is the talent still there to go get like a corner 2 there. So all that said, I'd probably lean back on somebody you anticipated a running back 2, whether that was along the lines of, like, for example, today, saw Jacob Rodriguez get picked up off the Commanders. Maybe a bigger name along the lines of, like, if somebody wanted to look at a Brian Robinson Jr. That's come out there. I'd probably say something like the running back 2. But admittedly, when we get off here tonight, I've got to do a little bit of catch up without a kid in my ear and one in my lap to see who's left. Yeah.
I give you a name right quick. Rachaad White, former Tampa Bay Buccaneers running back.
But that
veteran.
You tossed me that one. That's what I was getting at. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, Rachaad White. Hey, man, if he's cut, would you guys be against bringing Alvin Kamara home?
I wouldn't.
Dude, talk about just an awesome birds up at him. Like, yeah, he's with us now. Man, that'd be so sweet. It's like, you think you hurt me with Caden Ellis. You think you hurt me. Nah, you didn't hurt me. I'm about to go like revenge ex-girlfriend on you right here. I'm about to hurt your feelings. No, that'd be burning them, man. I wouldn't be against it. Hell no. I wonder what the price point would be. But I mean, hell, he played at Norcross, dude.
Right.
I know he's Saints through and through. But nah, I wouldn't be against it. Are you kidding me?
I'm just saying. Hey, man.
Y'all go check that out. I dropped that question earlier on my channel, and it got a lot of feedback on it. Shout out to y'all.
Yes, sir. I'm just saying. Now, it's not, and I feel you, Tony. I knew you was on the way. But it's not saying that, we need him. But, hey, the finish, I mean, because his career is winding down, I think. I feel like, his best days are behind him. Give him a couple of snaps, give Bijan some rest for the home team, especially when you got to play the Aints twice a year. I think he'll be a little motivated at least.
Yeah.
But I do like the Brian Robinson. That was good that you had said that at first, because I was looking.
Dude, I'd wear a Kamara jersey to the Saints game when they play us here.
Oh, I would too.
I'd wear that just for the.
I'd make a Bijan. I'd make a Bijan and Alvin Kamara shirt with them together. It's like we're going.
Just to make them mad.
They hate it. They hate it, and I love it. Oh yeah. Oh, don't forget 1.3. See y'all in the chat. Mm-hmm. Oh, Clint, my bad. You got to join the movement too, sir. There's a movement that I'm starting myself, and it's called the Unbothered Summer for Falcons fans. Anytime that anybody says anything about Tua, just always reply 1.3. 1.3.
Noted.
That's all you got.
But Clint, man, great show, man. Great show, man. We appreciate you coming through. We definitely have to have you back on again, man.
Yes,
we love talking draft. And we got more research to do because there's more players out there and more players we could talk about getting closer to the draft. But again, man, tell everybody where to find you if they don't know.
Yeah, one-stop shop. You can find me on Twitter at my namesake, Clint Goss, not gross, Clint Goss.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm joking. That does happen to me sometimes, like 5th grade graduation. I'm still getting over it. At NFL Draft Dome, or very new YouTube channel of my own. You can find that at NFL Draft Dome, covering a lot of positional rankings, a lot of team draft plans. We'll be going all year round, looking as we go through the next college football season, and then there will be some centric focus on the Falcons as well. So really trying to get that going too. But one-stop shop, you can find me at Twitter, and I'm always bouncing around on shows such as this. This is one of, if not my favorite, to hop on. So thanks for having me again.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
But very active, yeah.
He's so active. Every day he posts something on Twitter. And if it's something that I already done, I'm rolling with that. That's what I always put. But Chris, you know what to do, man.
I'm sorry, Clint. I wasn't supposed to ask no more questions, but it's a guy that's just been in my mind like this. And it's just
encore, bring him back.
It's just guys. Okay, very, very last question.
Yeah,
this guy looks like a freak of nature, possibly going to go higher than projected. Malachi Lawrence.
Woo, man.
Yeah, I've said that if the Falcons were to try and as close as they could segue off of JPJ into the closest thing to him in this draft, it's probably Lawrence. 6'4", 253, long limb, just a hair under 34-inch arms. He's got pass rush moves. I mean, great jab, great spin move. So much foundational tools to work with on top of, he tested 99th percentile in Indianapolis. I mean, he is a freak show, man. I mean, you're at that size. I believe he ran 4.52. Like, I mean, we as media, as consumers, as fans, as people that aren't NFL players, we get that that's outlandish for a guy 253 pounds to run that fast. We don't really get how outlandish that is. That's some 1% of the 1% of the 1% kind of stuff. Great bend to him, productive. No, I mean, I think he can be there at that 48 spot. He's not going to be there when you pick in the third. He'd have to be the first pick for you. But I'm not going to be complaining about that. I mean, no, he did as well as anybody in Indianapolis. He is every bit a freak show. And he's kind of what I call a cult prospect, CULT, in that you'll see some people that have been riding that train for months now that are as high as like first round. I mean, there are people that are like all about it. Like there's a guy, Alex at Hail Mary Sports, that like, I'm not convinced by the way he doesn't talk about Malachi Lawrence that he's not number one on his.
Wow.
Board. So I with him at a state the other week because he probably was like, this is my biggest fan ever. I need to like a Justin Bieber concert kind of energy, man. He's all about him. But no, that is an awesome mention right there at the end. Lawrence is a freak. He's a freak. I mean, and he's somebody when you look at the production. I mean, I believe he had 6.5, 7 sacks last year in a edge tandem. Nigel Kelly was on the other. Is there another program that you kind of look up and you're like, man, they always got somebody coming out of there.
Yeah, always.
They do. But Where you can find me at is A1 Forever Sports. That's the platform on YouTube. Come and be a part of the A1 family. Also, catch me at the Hawks Digest. The Atlanta Hawks on a 7-game win streak. Let me clear my throat. But either way it goes, y'all make sure y'all tap into those Atlanta Hawks, man, because we're making trying to make a playoff push. Only 2 games out of the 6th spot. So keep an eye on them. But
Let's
also,
go.
yeah, man. Also, Twitter, A1 Forever. Instagram, A1 Forever. And the real A1 Forever on TikTok. It is 9:14. Hopefully you have found your peace today, because positive energy always creates elevation. And that's how you find your peace. Clint, thank you as always. Sorry I butchered your name. I'm working on it.
No. You said my name correctly, man. I always say that. Like this past week, for perspective, I've probably done 6 or 7 shows of all varieties, and I've had 2 people call me Clint Gross at the intro. No. Somebody played back the tape on this. When you watch it at the end, it's Clint. You said Clint Goss. You had it. No, I wasn't saying anything about you. No.
All right, just want to make sure, man. You my guy, man. You my guy. We definitely got to have you back on sooner, like we were saying. Just been too long. Man. We follow your stuff all the time, so we're definitely always tapped into you. But we definitely got to get you back on here so more people can tap into you, not just on Twitter, but your new YouTube as well.
Yeah, we got to work on that, because we got to plug that channel the next time. But Solomon, that's absolutely correct. Never had a 1,000-yard season, but still put up over 12,000 yards from scrimmage, 86 total touchdowns. So Avick has done his thing, and he can take, glide into retirement with the Falcons, and I would be all for it. But y'all know where to catch me, man. Smitty Sports Machine on YouTube right here, and also on Twitter at FatBoySlam_21, because I'm always over there blowing that thing up along with my boy Clint and A1. A lot of draft talk yet to come, so y'all catch us on Twitter or catch us on our channels, and we're going to holler at y'all later, man, because time for them chickens.
Yeah.
Peace.
Yeah.